Well, let's go to our reporter Ashlynne McGhee. She's at Fisherman's Bend, which is Holden's headquarters in Melbourne. Ashlynne McGhee, have you managed to talk to any of the workers there after this news broke?
Good afternoon, Kim. Look, the workers are coming out from around the corner from where we are now. The shift break, we understand, was at 4 o'clock. So they will be coming out from around the corner, and certainly the cars are streaming out from behind the camera there. Other workers are in this building here now. Probably about half an hour ago we saw them walk into a meeting, about hundreds of workers walk into a meeting. We haven't seen them come out yet, so we can only assume they're still in that meeting and being briefed on what exactly will happen to their jobs here.
Holden's Managing Director Mike Devereaux has said that there'll be about 1,300 job losses in Victoria. The engine plant is going to shut down. They'll keep a small design team. What's been the reaction there from unions and the state government?
Look, the reaction has really been, I guess, not one of shock, but one of great upset. So Dave Smith, who is from the Australian Manufacturing Workers Union, was one of the first people down here, and we interviewed him, and just one question in, he broke down in tears. He said it's been a really tough year for car manufacturing workers in Australia, that the workforce here is very dedicated and that there really are no other jobs for them to go to. He spoke of some of the jobs that they may end up in, labouring type work, really minimal hours of work, and said that it's a really sad time for them before Christmas. There are also about 650 engineers based here, and we spoke to the Engineers Union as well. They said it's a really tough time for engineering in Australia, so again, it's not a good time to be looking for other jobs. We heard as well from the opposition leader here in Victoria, Daniel Andrews. He spoke about the impact on this will have on the economy and how many indirect jobs, and it's estimated to be about 50,000 indirect jobs here in Victoria that will be affected. So that's suppliers, parts manufacturers, businesses like that. So certainly the impact on the Victorian economy and more widely on jobs, not just those 1,300 direct jobs, but talking potentially about 50,000 jobs in Victoria to go.
Certainly there are lots of ripple effects to discuss. Has there been any early indications from the Victorian government that they might work hand in hand with the federal government and of course Holden, unions, whoever it takes, to try to manage that transition for these workers who are staring down the barrel of losing their jobs in a few years?
I understand the Premier Dennis Napthine was questioned about that in Parliament earlier today. I've only heard from the opposition leader here, who said that he didn't receive any answers to his questions when he asked what exactly the government has done to try to save these jobs. The opposition leader, Mr Andrews, did say that he thinks some of those secondary jobs can be saved, but that action needs to be taken right now, that the government needs to start looking at diversifying the economy, providing new jobs for these people. Of course, in areas Geelong and Broadmeadows, where Ford has its plants, they're looking at what they can do to provide other work options. But Mr Andrews called on the Victorian Premier today to do the same, to guarantee not only that there are jobs for these staff to go to, but also the indirect jobs that will be affected by this decision.
Certainly you mentioned the Ford workers too, and it's been some bad news for the Australian car industry throughout the year. And in Victoria, you know, there are a whole heap of, as you say, Ford workers who are going to lose their jobs by October 2016. Now Holden, we know, by the end of 2017. There seems to be also quite a blame game going on about whose fault this is. Holden has been trying to say, look, their business case just wasn't viable anymore. But I imagine that in the political realm, there's quite a spat going on about who's to blame.
That's exactly right, and certainly the two unions that I spoke to down here and the Labor opposition leader were very keen to blame the federal government for their inaction. They said, the AMWU said, that the federal government has had their business case, Holden's business case, for months now, and they relied on a productivity commission in effect to delay making a decision on that. And the opposition leader down here said the federal government therefore is directly to blame for Holden's decision to pull out. That was also reiterated by the Australian Manufacturing Workers Union. They said there's no doubt, Dave Smith said, no doubt in his mind that the federal government is solely to blame for this decision today. And certainly Victoria has been known as the manufacturing heart of Australia, so it really hasn't surprised these figures, but it has, I guess, has sent shockwaves through the community.
A lot for all of those Holden workers to take in this afternoon. For now, Ashlynne McGhee outside Holden's headquarters at Fisherman's Bend in Melbourne. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.